A few days ago, I finished reading the novel John Dies at the End by Jason Pargin. It's not the first time that I've read it, but every year around August 1st, I start to ramp up my reading of scary stories to get ready for Halloween. It's a great book. It's full of monsters. It's really funny. It's got like the most misleading title of anything other than, everything you need to know to survive English class. But the thing I really want to talk about today is the way that Pargin's novel was originally presented. It's in a novel now, but when it was first published, it was published in serial installments online. The novel version is rewritten and polished, but the story structure still has the same episodic nature as the original blog posts. In some ways, it's almost like three separate stories linked together by a framing device. I wish I had known about it when it was being originally published online because I love serialized stories. There's a lot of fun to be had in reading or watching one chapter of a story and then spending the time before the next one thinking about it, debating it, theorizing over it. I honestly think the binge-watching model is hurting modern TV more than it helps it. I know a lot of people complain they have to wait an entire week for the next installment. We have to wait a whole week? I can't wait that long. I want immediate gratification and also an Oompa Loompa. I want a bean feast. Sorry, I got a little lost in my head there. But I really believe that releasing a show in weekly installments extends the life of the show by giving the fans time to process it and discuss it. When you drop the entire series at once, it's part of the conversation for a week. Seriously, when's the last time you heard anybody mention Stranger Things or Wednesday except to complain about how long the wait between seasons is? Which is fair, by the way, but that's a totally different issue. Shows where you've got to wait for a new installment remain part of the conversation for months, and the conversation is about what's happening in the show instead of whining about how long it's going to be until the next season. You know why Netflix cancels everything in 15 minutes? Because they've set their own shows up to fail by giving them a model that doesn't give them any time to build an audience, which should be the goal. Let's look at a couple of the most talked about shows of the immediately pre-streaming era, Lost and How I Met Your Mother. Both of these shows, one science fiction and one comedy, were built around mysteries and unanswered questions. And the fans of these shows developed these enormous, robust communities online that still exist to this day. They still talk about these shows. They still rewatch them looking for things that they missed. And no matter what you may think about how the shows ended, most fans will agree that the time they spent talking about and analyzing the show in between the episodes was some of the most fun that they had. It's an enriching, rewarding viewing experience that just doesn't happen if you watch the whole thing at once. Sports fans, if it were possible, would you really want them to play the entire season in 1 week? No, that would be terrible. You need time to analyze what went wrong, talk about strategy, make fun of the fact that Jerry Jones blinds his own players because he's too arrogant to put up some curtains. It's all part of the experience. Serialization is not new. It's been around for as long as stories have existed. Charles Dickens' most famous works were originally published in installments in journals and then built up an enormous fan base that way. They were so big that when the ships carrying those journals came to America, fans would flock and swarm the docks because they were desperate to get the new journal with the new episode of Oliver Twist so they could finally get the answers to the stories that they've been craving. I said craven, not raven. Sorry, he's been salty ever since I mentioned Poe last week and I forgot to let him do the line. When Stephen King serialized his story, The Green Mile, it actually changed the ending. You see, he hadn't finished writing the series yet when the first installment came out. There was a character in the book, a mouse called Mr. Jingles, and as his wife was reading the unfinished books, he just sort of disappeared at one point. So she asked him, what happened to the mouse? Well, King realized that was a question that a lot of people would want answered. And when he decided to work that answer into the end, it actually changed the ending of the book somewhat. And of course, comic books have been serialized for decades. Ask any Superman fan around my age, which is none of your dang business, what the best era for the character was, and most of us are going to pick the 1990s. At that time, there were 4 monthly Superman comics being published, and they flowed one into another, like one chapter every week. It was like getting a weekly Superman comic. We call that era the Triangle Era, because they had a little triangle number on each cover letting us know which order to read them in. It was a glorious time. We still miss it, frankly. Amazon tried doing serialization with their Kindle Vella platform, but it fell flat because Amazon didn't know what they were doing with serialization. But I gotta tell you, I still get an itch every now and then to try another serialized story. I've thought about doing it as a Patreon, but I gotta be honest with you guys, I don't think there's quite enough of you out there yet who'd be willing to plunk down a few bucks a month to find out the next chapter of my story. But what about a free one? If I tried to serialize a new story on my website, blakempt.com, who out there would be interested? And what kinds of stories would you want? I haven't made any decisions here. I'm just spitballing, but I'm interested in your opinions. Oh, and if you'd rather just have a whole story at once, well, I've got you covered there too, guys. Just go to Amazon, look up my name. You think I'm making these videos for my health? Got these at B. Dalton Booksellers when I was in college.